Well, welcome to the podcast. In my effort to continually evolve and grow and build the future of racing and build my own future in that industry, I decided to do the podcast and let all the information out that I've been using to build this. We're going to be taking the covers off all things sport and motorsport, and sprinkle a few little things in there for everyone else to keep everyone interested and learning. So enjoy. The sporting world. It's an ever-evolving, ever-changing world, much like the business and technology world, where they're putting one foot in front of the other to continue moving forward. Now, because of this rapid expansion, rapid growth, there's stories coming in from all over the globe, from every single corner, about every type of sport you can think of, and maybe some you haven't even heard of. Now, in my quest to continually evolve and grow alongside, and if not faster than the sporting world, I've been taking in, every single story I can, learning about different athletes, the way they work, the way they train. What can I learn from them? Can I learn anything from them? And in this quest for knowledge, I have found a few sort of common denominators, common themes coming out of the stories. And the common theme is that a lot of men's sports and men's stories seems to be, on the negative side. Now, that's not every single story, but a lot of them are. I mean, the men's rugby here in Australia is a perfect example, and Nick Kyrgios and Bernard Tomic in the tennis. Now, that's I'm not going to go into that, but that's just a few examples. In the women's sport, on the other hand, seems to be a lot of good news stories at the moment, which is great. Ash Barty in the tennis, she's doing wonderful things, and the Matildas in the soccer, they didn't get the result maybe they wanted at the World Cup, but they still far outperformed and always have outperformed the men's Socceroos. So why such a big disparity, particularly in some of the same sports? Why such a big disparity from different genders from even the same country? There's an answer, what I believe is the answer, and we'll go into that right now. So the reasoning for the such disparity in the two genders, I believe, it's all mental. It's the psychology side of things. Athletes use many different coaches to train the physical side of things. They'll use different coaches for strength and conditioning, for cardio fitness, for whatever is relevant to their sport. They'll often have more than one trainer sometimes to look after the physical side of things, which is great. But what's often neglected is the mental side of things, which does seem really, really crazy. Because the basis of everything we do comes from the brain, whether you think about it or not. So things we think about, like movements, or especially in sport, and things we don't think about, like our breathing and our heartbeat. Everything that we do, the basis of our entire lives, is based in the brain. So why neglect that? This, I realise I still haven't quite answered the original, questions to why the difference between the two genders. Now, I have to get a little bit nerdy here just to explain it and give it a bit more depth and for you to really understand it. So just hold on. So, to understand the differences, we have to understand the differences in the way the minds work. Now, I hate to be saying this sort of stuff here in 2019, but there is a difference in the way that the brain of a male or female is structured. So I'll go into that just a little bit. So the male brain is very closed off and very one-track minded. That's why the old saying that the men can't multitask is very, very true. It's been backed up by many scientific experiments and all sorts of things over the years. The women's brain is slightly more open, doesn't have as much of the one-track mindedness of the male brain, and it is more socially driven as well. So it's more open and socially driven than the male brain. Now, why that's relevant is because with the closed off mind of the male brain, it does allow, just to go in and do, but it doesn't allow a lot of time for sitting back and reflecting, which does need to be done every now and then so we can learn, process and move along and move forwards. The women's side of the brain, being more socially driven, does, and they've often surrounded themselves already with the circles that they need to continually grow and improve. Stop, take a look at what's happened, process it and move on. And that just comes more naturally than the male. So how this relates to sport and performance is that the more socially structured brain of the females in women's sports has allowed them to as I said before, surround themselves with the right people and surround themselves with an environment that's conducive of growth. So what that doesn't allow a lot of room for is any negativity, anything that's going to distract or detract from the goal, which is to be the best at what they do. The perfect example of this is Ash Barty in the tennis. Now, I don't think it's highly publicised, but it is mentioned in a few articles that she does use a performance mind coach. She values the use of one, values the place her mind has in her performance. That's how she's gone from, re-entering the sport as, someone that no one really knew, to being the global superstar Grand Slam winner, world number one that she's now only 18 months later. And then there's the flip side to that, where the men's single track mindedness does, allow them to lose steam by putting just one foot in front of the other and continue to do the same thing over and over again, as so many male athletes do. It allows it doesn't stimulate the mind, and so then it starts looking elsewhere for stimulation. And that can come in any way, shape or form. As you see with a lot of rugby league players with their off-field indiscretions, or Bernard Tomic and Nick Kyrgios with the tennis, where they just don't seem to be interested in what they are doing. So that is how and why there are disparities in performance. It's all mental and down to the use of sports psychologists, whether they use it or not, and the value that they do place on the mental strength in and then using it to be able to perform. These two vastly different approaches then radiate out into the world and influence what is broadcast and published to the media. The success of women's sports around the world, and particularly here in Australia, is something that we can all learn from, something that there's things that they do that we can all take on board to make sure that we're all doing the best we can, whatever you do. All of what we've talked about so far, it all stems from one thing, and it's one thing that we can all learn from and take on board to really ensure that we're getting the best out of ourselves for whatever we do, even if it's not sporting. The success and positiveness surrounding women's sports can be attributed down to one thing, I think, and that is definitely the ability for them to surround themselves with a social circle of like-minded people that allows them to continually grow and have the support they need to continually move towards where they want to go. And that's something that we can all take on board and we can all apply. It doesn't matter if we're doing sport or business or technology or work or whatever it is that you're doing. That's something that we can all do and all take away. And that's something that I've definitely taken away and used from the start of my career. I mean, I've built my future and the future in racing by involving PR, exercise physiologist, and most importantly, the mind. So I've got all bases covered there right from the beginning to build that foundation right through my career all the way through to now and into the future. And that's something that we can all do. Now, it doesn't have to be going out and getting professional help all the time. Sometimes it can just be surrounding yourself with the right people, like-minded people, that enjoy doing what you do, or they don't have to like the same things as you, but have the same outlook on life, and that will, create a fun and open and stimulating environment for you and everyone to be involved with. And even if you don't think that growth and growing and building is your thing, it is everyone's thing. It's in our nature. It's how we've survived. Humans have survived on this planet and are still here today, and how they, hopefully will be here for many, many years to come and generations to come. So surround yourself with that right people with the same outlook on life as you do, and you will be amazed at what it can do for you and your life. Well, thanks for taking the time out of your busy day to watch. And be sure to give it a like if you did like it, and stick around. We're going to keep growing and getting better and better each week I do this, so stay tuned for the next video. See ya.